Hey everybody, and welcome to Football Manager 2020. In particular, welcome to my non-recorded game that I play. So I kind of mentioned in a channel update that unfortunately my boot drive failed and I had to replace it, and it meant that I lost basically every save game I had. I've managed to reclaim a couple. I did actually manage to reclaim my cloud save from... no, actually, I didn't really manage to reclaim my cloud save for Assassin's Creed, but somehow I managed to find it on the boot drive. I couldn't find any others. I could only find Uplays saves. So that was nice because, as I said, I had about 50 hours worth of gameplay in there. But I did lose my Manchester United gameplay, and to be honest, starting that up for a third time is just... I think a second time fine, third time it's a bit like, what is even going on here? So I thought to kind of finish off this kind of Football Manager 2020 thing, I would stop in on kind of some maybe fairly regular intervals, because I do play this a lot. And we can check out how we're doing in my offline game, and I can have a talk about it. And it's also nice sometimes to see a fair bit in the future, because you can see this is January 2023, so it's 3 years in the future from where we are. Not exactly, actually, it's the 1st of Feb as I record this, but it's pretty close. And seeing what kind of awaits you in Football Manager and what happens to who and where. So first thing you notice is I am Crystal Palace. I'm a Crystal Palace supporter. So it's a natural thing for me to go towards the club when I generally, what I'll do in Football Manager games is I'll usually have like a save where I really kind of try to do my best with Crystal Palace and wherever I can kind of get them. And I'll usually also maybe do some others with some foreign clubs as well, or sometimes I'll also start right at the bottom of the leagues. Obviously that one takes a long time. I didn't want to do that straight away, but it can be really good fun. There's a lot of problems along the way, but there's even problems just taking over Palace and trying to be the best you can. It can be a very long process, as I'll go through, but I've really enjoyed it so far. So you probably want to know how my history has been, I guess. So I've only been in Crystal Palace manager. I've brought 73 players and sold 43, so I've net gained like 30 players, which I guess is good. I've played 177 games, I've won 111, drawn 42, lost 24. I think that's pretty good. I don't know what average that gives me, but I think that's pretty good. We've scored... it's a 62%. There you go. It tells you 299 goals for, 131 against, with 168, and I've won 1 cup and 1 league. That cup is the Charity Shield or Community Shield, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it'll kind of bring it up anywhere here. And we won the Premier League last season as well. We'll talk about that. So in my first season with Crystal Palace, we finished 3rd. Obviously, that's massively overachieving. You might be like, "Oh, that sounds dodgy. How did you manage that?" Well, I don't think Crystal Palace actually have a bad team on here. The tactic I chose played to the strengths of Crystal Palace in a way that you wouldn't really expect, but I'll go through it with you in a minute. And also, it was one of those seasons. I don't know if we can go back actually in time and have a look at... I don't think we can, at like past... I don't know if there's a way to do that. Is there a competition review, but it's like goes back? No, I don't think there is. Just kind of looking here. No, I don't know if there is. No, okay. I don't think there's a way to go back and kind of have a look, but the general gist of it was we finished 3rd. it surprised the heck out of me as well. I was aiming for Europa League, and we got Champions League. um, it was massively surprising. The other teams I felt didn't do so well. They were a little weak, and I had a kind of secret weapon in Wilf Zaha. So obviously, Zaha is one of the. Actually, there might be a like team of the season or something around here. Let me just have a look. I know there is something like that. I don't know if it's under like maybe a best 11. Here we go. Yes, there we go. Right, so this is my team. So we can at least have a look at this in the first year. So pretty standard for kind of Crystal Palace in a way. This is the formation I play. We had Zlatan Ibrahimovic up front, who did very well, as you can see. Him and Wilf up front were banging the goals in. Wilf on the counter, Ibra with headers, and just being Ibra basically. It was a really good partnership. Got him on a free. He's actually unemployed now. That's a shame. I did have him as my under-23 manager, but he left to go take a management job. I guess it didn't work out. Maybe I don't think that was that long ago. But anyway, but yeah, he played really well for me in that first season. Sure, he was a lot on wages, but the transfer fee was nothing, so that was great. Wilf obviously was really good. Picked up this kid from Barcelona B, I think, on loan, and obviously did really well in midfield. He didn't play like every game in midfield. I did kind of rotate them around. Thomas Partey came in January. He was really good as well. I know his stats don't really say that much, but he did add some kind of bolt to midfield. Camarasa was on loan at Palace as well. I don't think we brought him. I think he was just on loan. Yeah, and he left. I think he was good though. To be fair, he was very good. Maybe I can't remember why I didn't buy him, because I think the option was there, but I think I just thought I'll move in a different direction. Wing backs. So I played with wing backs rather than wingers, which is why I think it's a little different for Crystal Palace, because Palace are known as a kind of a winger thing. They have Townsend. You can see there's no Townsend here. That's because I sold him. My issue with playing a formation which requires wingers and stuff like that was the strengths of Crystal Palace are in their defence. They have very good central defenders, and they also have central defenders who are quite old and slow. So if you play a formation where they're pushing up a lot and you don't have so many of them, one, you're losing out on... You're playing slightly inferior players because you can't fit all your defenders in, and two, those defenders are slow, so they'll get caught with balls over the top, etc. So that was my kind of theory around it, and to be fair, it worked, so I guess I was right, maybe. So we had Tompkins, Sacco, and Cahill, who were all very good. Google, for some reason, has just picked that up. I think because I said they're all very good. I don't know, anyway. Gaita in goal was great. Goalkeepers never get high ratings in Football Manager 2020 for whatever reason. If you're around a 6.8 as a goalkeeper, you're probably doing a good job. He had a lot of clean sheets, so that was good. I signed this guy, Peter Stojanovic. Where is he now? He's in China. A lot of them are in China, I'm not going to lie. Signed him for 2.5. He played pretty well as a kind of... He was kind of a backup. He was supposed to be kind of a backup, but he ended up playing more because of injuries and things like that in that first season, and then played less. And then I sold him for a profit anyway, so I was like, okay, good bit of business. I think Klunter was one of the guys. I brought him in, I think, in January to play. No, maybe at the beginning of the season to play. He played a lot, but again, didn't set the world on fire in the right wing back. I struggled for many seasons to get that right wing back role sorted. It's tough. There's the wing backs in Football Manager 2020. There's not many great ones out there. It's quite tough to actually secure them. So Van Aanholt was fantastic, as you can see. 6 goals. It doesn't measure his assists, but he got a lot of assists. He's now at Victoria Plinsen. Yeah, and he was with us. Now I sold him. Why did I sell him? I don't really know. I think because I thought he's getting older, and they offered me 13 million. Bear in mind, I didn't pay the 9 million. That was obviously before I started playing. I was like, they offered me 13 million. He had 10 assists, 6 goals, 3 man of the match, and 7.35. I would admit now that was a mistake to actually sell him. I just felt I could get someone better in for a cheaper price. And I think I underestimated him because I don't think I've ever had anyone perform to that level. Possibly until this season I'm in now currently. So that was probably a mistake to sell him, but I did sell him. On there, I also got the young Andreas Poulsen in, still with me, but he has never really kicked on that well. He did quite well that season, but otherwise it's been a bit disappointing for him. But he was pretty cheap, 2.3 million, and I think I could sell him for about 13 now. So tidy profits. Max Meyer never really got going in this formation. He is more of an attacking midfielder, and it didn't really seem to work out too much for him midfield. Coyote did a job, but not a very good one. And Reedwald actually played really well. And again, he's a player who I've underestimated because he has always played pretty well for me. You see in 2 seasons, it's 7.3. Dropped down a little bit. He was on loan at Burnley. Dropped down a little bit there. It's mostly because I was playing him out of position. He wants to play like a defensive midfielder, playmaker. I didn't have that role at the time, so I was playing him left wing back and sometimes central defence, and it wasn't really his best role, but he still did quite well. I signed this guy as well in the January transfer window. I think it was in January. Yeah, it was in January because he only played 12 games. As a backup, 4.4 million. Came with very high wages. Did okay. I'd say, but when Rennes came in for an 18 million, I was like, yeah, no brainer, to be honest with you. Quite young central defender, but I didn't feel like his stats were anything too special. I think you could sign him from PSG to begin with. I'd say he's solid, but not spectacular, but he'll do a job for you to come in, and you know, if you're going to play 3 central defenders, you need 3 kind of backup defenders. Milivojevic, solid, but not spectacular, really. So yeah, Van Arnold really the highest rater of the season. But I'd definitely say Zaha was one of our star players. He would just dribble the ball from the halfway line and put it in. Yes, I did sell him. We'll come into that. So yeah, then the next season was when I sold Wilf Zaha. So no, was it? No, it wasn't. It was the season after, actually, but for some reason they didn't put him in the team. Weird. So the season after, we came 4th. So we dropped down a little bit. We came 3rd in the first season. Second season, we came 4th. I never felt... It was a kind of a transition period. You can see here, like, the entire defence changed, essentially. So Riza Demerzi came in for Van Arnholt. Now, he's done quite well. He is getting on a little bit now, but he has done quite well. He's 2.9 million, 7.08, 7.22 last season. This season he hasn't quite kicked on, but that's because I did sign a new left wing back who has been doing very well. But I would say for the money and everything, like did very well. Good buy there. Klunter, yeah, he played and again didn't really do that well in that role, so a little disappointing. I signed this guy, Volker Farinas, who's Venezuelan, from Millonarios, 2.6 million. He's done really well. You can see he broke the record for clean sheets, 23. As I said, goalkeepers, don't get that higher ratings in this game, but that is a good rating for a goalkeeper. And the clean sheets wise, he's done very well. He's a good goalkeeper. Potential ability is better than what he is, so he's only going to get better. He's one for the future. I've signed him long term, as you can see, 2027. And yeah, I like the guy. What I like about him is I don't think I've ever, in fact, seen him make one of those stupid mistakes that goalkeepers sometimes make where they'll just pass it out to another player. Like, that's never happened. His distribution is very, very good. What is actually his passing's bad, but I very rarely see him make a mistake in terms of his distribution, because we play out from the back generally, and he seems to be very calm, and I never see him misplace that pass. So that's why I like him, basically. And you can see 52 appearances. He just played everything, basically. We signed this guy, Christophe Auger, who is now an absolute kind of club legend. I think I spoke about him in my Man United one because I signed him there as well, because he is just really good, and you can get him for 20 million, which is what I'll say is, as I come through, and I'll go through this now, 20 million seems like a lot, and it is quite a lot of money, but it's actually a complete pin drop now compared to the prices in 2023, where he would easily go for 100 million. I don't know why I've got an asking price of 69 million. It should be probably like 120, because he is very good. What I also like about him is his versatility. So he's more than capable of playing like midfield and decently as well, not just like, oh, it's uncomfortable or whatever. It's nearly natural for him to play there. So there's massive versatility there. He plays around. He obviously has superb stats. He's a leader, so he is the captain right now. Absolute star player. In a season where you can see we struggled, that the average ratings were not that high, he was a standout performer for us. Very, very good. Excellent player. Never one of the best signings I've made. Even though it's 20 million, you could be like, oh well, 20 million is not exactly cheap money or whatever, but never puts a foot wrong. Basically, started at 7.8 and now last 2 seasons he's just going above and beyond. I get offers all the time for him. No one interested at the minute, but because I've rejected them all. And the great thing is when I reject them, he isn't then like, I want to go to a bigger club. Like, never had a problem with him. He's been superb. Evan Ndicka I signed, young centre-back, got him for 8 million from Eintracht Frankfurt. I'd say he's solid. First season he was a little bit shaky, but second season he really came up, so last season. And then this season again, he's doing well. He's only 23, so he's building, The work rate thing bothers me a little bit, but I have a feeling I'm going to sell him. I did have some people interested, only because his potential's a little low, but he is a solid performer. We played Thilo as well in his... I don't know if it is Thilo, but I'm going to call him Thilo. We played him in more, and I didn't... That's why I sold him. I was like, 6.9 is not impressive enough for me, to be completely honest with you. Klunter played wing-back, Milivojevic in his normal role. I'll go through the actual tactics of this and what we did in a moment, Reza. I purchased Dani Olmo from Atletico and then sold him like... a season and a half later. He was actually good, but he is really good in the game. His best position though is his attacking midfielder, and I tried to play him in that. I tried to change my tactics to get the best out of him, and it just didn't seem to happen. Like he was playing well, but the rest of the team were playing terribly. So in the end I was like, I just don't think he fits into tactics. He can play central midfield, and I was playing him in central midfield, but I was like, you know what? I signed him for 18.75 million, the same time as like Ajer, and I've got some good. He's paid well, but 40 million. I was like, at that time, I was like, to be fair, that's good money, and it'll allow me to buy 2 players, rather than have one player who doesn't quite fit into our formation. It'll allow me to buy 2 players who do. I kind of brought him as like, this guy's a star, I'll fit him into my team anywhere I can, but it just didn't really work out, to be honest. Thomas Partey again, he did better for us than that kind of dictates. I think he was really solid for us in midfield. I did end up selling him, as I always end up selling all players. But we only bought him for 8.5 million. He was transfer listed by Atletico, and then I sold him for 22, and I got some good seasons out of him. So I think that's good management personally there. This kid Josh Sargent, I brought him in my first season, 6 million. Never really done it, to be honest with you. I played him a lot in the second season, and you can see like very disappointing goal return. I've still got him. He's on loan at Mainz, and he's doing okay on loan, but he's got great stats. He's 22, he's young, he's up and coming. His potential was a lot higher than that, but as I said, he's capable of playing. I just don't know if I played him in the wrong position or whatever. His finishing's decent. I don't know why he doesn't finish. His heading's decent. He's got everything there to be a good striker, but it just didn't seem to work out for him. Zlatan in his second season, not quite as good. You can imagine his stats were dropping a little bit, but still really solid. I think I played him a lot. I brought him on as a sub a lot, but then played him more in the second half of the season because maybe I played Zaha the whole season. I think Yeah, I did. I sold him halfway through the season. So I sold him in January. 56 million coming in from China. It was a tough one because he was clearly like my best striker. It was clearly, out there. But I always felt like I was playing him in a role where he wasn't completely natural. But he did brilliantly well. Like, clearly you can kind of see first season 22 goals. He's right up there with the top goal scorers. He wasn't top goal scorer, but he was up there. But I just felt like he was kind of, yes, he was coming into his prime then, but as Crystal Palace, I needed the money to rebuild and bring new players in, because Palace have a very aging squad at that point. Like, their midfield ages, the defence is aging, and my transfer budget each season was like 40 million, which it'll get you a couple of decent players. It'll get you an Olmo and an Ager, but that's all it'll get you. You can't buy in, a few other players. You can't then buy in, a good few youngsters to bring through as well, who might cost you a few million. So I sold him. Yeah, it was a bit heartbreaking, and yes, the fans were not happy, but 56 million, plus there's add-ons to that as well. So I am getting money since then as well. And I think I brought in this guy, Nick Venema, who was 14.75, did very well for me last season, doing well for me this season as well. Although he's not playing every game, but he's still coming on as a sub and doing very well and stuff like that. So, and I think I also brought in him. I brought in Raheem Harper halfway through the season as well, who's gone on to be a very good player for us as well. Although, again, his stats don't really show it, but I think he is. I think sometimes he has played a lot as a sub, and as a sub, you don't often get the high, but he has come on, and when I have played him, he has done very well, so I've been happy with that. I also sold Sacco as well to China. China bloody love blowing my players. Again, it was a guy who's getting on, he was approaching 30, and someone offered me 25 million for him, and I was like, yeah, I can use that money to go out there and buy some players. So that's what I did. So we finished fourth then. As I said, it was my worst season I've had, but we were fourth comfortably. It wasn't really a push, but we were miles off first. Then came the title winning season. Really, I think we settled in. A few signings made a big difference. Still took some players some time to kind of settle in and do stuff. I didn't sell Olmo, I think, until the January transfer window. We signed Ruben Loftus-Cheek, still with us now. I signed him on loan with a view to buy for 26 million. It was quite a high view to buy, to be fair. We signed Jesus Vallejo on a free from, I think, Real Madrid. So that was a great piece of buy. He's been very good for us. Hasn't been using him as much as I probably should, but he is very good. Obviously, Christopher Ager had a great season. Ndicka came along and did well. Signed this guy, Lewis Abram, from River for 7 million. Very solid central defender. China came in this pre-season for 31 million. I was like, yeah, he's not old, but I was like, yeah, 31 million, that's a lot of money. I'll take that. Signed Jaden Bogle, who is a brilliant right wing back or right back. Very young. Cost me an arm and a leg. I think cost me 26 million. Yeah, but this season he's really cracking on. He's doing very well, so I'm really happy with him. That solved my right-sided problem. Riza did very well on the left side. Still wasn't convinced by him, so I signed someone this season. Signed this guy, Esquizel Palacios from River for 5 million. The Argentine market or the Brazilian market is where there is still some value at this point. In Europe, there is no value for players. You are just paying top dollar for everyone. We'll have a look at some of the transfers, but he's been brilliant. He's kind of been keeping Ruben Loftus-Cheek out the side a little bit, to be fair, but he's very good at what he does. Worth 44 million now, apparently. Harper played a lot as well. Venema, you can see 21 goals, did very well. Signed Timo Werner in the January transfer window. So I had quite a lot of cash at that point, and I was like, for whatever reason, I wasn't happy with with Venom. I know he scored like 21 goals, but I was still like, which is as much as Zaha basically scored in the season, but I was still like, I'm not happy with that. I'd signed Raul Jimenez on loan to be a partner up front who did well, but yeah, he did well. I gotta say, he did do well. And I was kind of flicking him in and out with Josh Sargent, but it wasn't clicking somewhere. And I was like, you know what, we were going for the title, and I was like, I feel like at this point, like if I proceed with these guys up front and we don't win the title, I'll always be like, well, what would have happened if I'd have gone out there and signed, you know, that big star, that superstar, because he was available, he was transfer listed, but it was a lot of money. It was 34.5 million. That's the most money I think I've ever spent on a player. The most money Palace have obviously spent on a player, and it's a big ask. You know, Chelsea just weren't playing him. Massive wages obviously as well coming in, but he did brilliantly when he came in. 9 goals in 14 games, really helped this season as well. He's doing brilliantly, so well worth it. Great player. 26 as well, so I've still got a good few seasons out of the kid as well, you know, to come. So I think that was a great investment. It's tough sometimes. Like, I'm more of a player who likes to buy players for, you know, 5 to 10 million. When it starts getting past 20 million, I start to get cold sweats, you know, about spending that amount of money, especially when you're Crystal Palace. As I said, my transfer budgets, they're not high, even, you know, even coming third and fourth, you know, I still only had about 50 million, which I know you're going to say is like, well, that's a lot, but when you're trying to get players, there's a difference. You see, you can get your club up to a certain standard, say out of the 5 stars, you know, that 3-star standard, or maybe 3.5 with that sort of transfer budget. But if you want to go to that next level, that we compete in Europe, you know, we are title winners, we challenge for title, you know, that kind of 4-star, suddenly players go from 20 million to 50 million or 60 or 70 or even 100 million. Some people are buying them now, and we can't compete with that. We don't have the money because our ground is too small. I'll talk about the ground in a minute, and, you know, commercial stuff and things like that is traditionally not come in. And also owner wise, you know, we didn't have owners who were going to pump the money in. So, you know, I have to look at players who, maybe some young players coming through, and you know, use that money wisely. So spending 34 million on Timo Werner was a big decision. I thought about that a lot, and I'm very happy it's come off, because, you know, I could turn around and go, well, for 34 million I could get 2 15 or 2 18 million pound players, you know, and they would do a good job. Maybe 2 18 million pound strikers who would do a decent job. But I'm very kind of happy to get him. And I think he's taken us on to a new level. So that was the year we did win the title. It was a hard push thing with Man United. I wish I could show you the table, because I think we did finish about 5 points ahead in the end, but like for a long period they were really pushing us. They were winning everything. Man United are a very good team in Football Manager 2020. Mason Greenwood in particular just fires them in, really. And then I guess this is our overall since I started. I will say as well, like, Milivojevic had a great season as well, banging in the penalties. Did really well, real leader there. I think Abraham played the most games though, 48 games. So what you're probably wondering is what tactics did I use? Okay, so these are the tactics I use now, which I'll talk about in a minute. I've just changed those tactics. Ignore the fact that people are out of position. So this is what I was playing, which was this kind of 5-3-2 or 3-3-2-2, whatever you want to call it. Attacking forward, deep lying forward. Mezzala attack, deep line playmaker, ball winning, wing backs, and then 2 ball winning and a cover, and then a sweeper keeper. Cautious mentality. I know you can kind of like, what? But the general consensus was defence comes first, and then we hit them on the break. And that was working, but we did also play a possession type of football as well, so we did have a lot of possession. It was weird. It was a weird kind of formation to play. Quite often I didn't play that cautious. I would play balanced most of the time, to be fair. We'd win games 2-0, 1-0, 2-1, that type of thing. You know, that's how we would win the games. But it played to our strengths, and I think one of the most important things to remember in like Football Manager is attackers are very expensive. defenders are not very expensive. You can see my defensive lineup, was consisted of players I brought between like 8 and 10 million. Whereas strikers, Timo Werner, 34 million. My entire defence could be built with 34 million. You can get young defenders very cheap, bring them through. Young attackers, very expensive, generally. So if you are a club which doesn't have the money, or you have a club which maybe doesn't have the strikers, it's best sometimes to focus on that defence and put your best players in there, which is what we've kind of been doing. So this season, as you can see, we're first still in the Premier League. I'm actually unbeaten. Last season, I got beaten once. We drew quite a lot, but I did get beaten once. Bournemouth, in the 92nd minute, it was 0-0. They beat me 1-0. I was fuming. It was fairly early on in the season. I'd say maybe like our 8th or 9th game, something like that. And I was like, again, I was just thinking to myself when it happened, I was fuming. I was like, I bet we go unbeaten the rest of the season in the league. And we did. And we're unbeaten this season. Actually got a game in hand on the others as well, which is quite nice. Liverpool are the ones who are pushing us this season. They dropped off a little bit. They've lost a couple of games recently, but they were ahead of us. But I think they've lost their last 2 games, to be fair. Stats-wise, you can see... So it's now January. I switched my tactics because I didn't feel like they... So I was playing that... this tactics, and I changed to this tactics, which is the gegenpress. I changed because I was like, I want to play with wingers again. I like wing backs, but I was like, we've done this for 3 seasons. I need to change this now, just for my own enjoyment. And it was a weird one because I changed it in the January transfer window as well. And I had no wingers, obviously, because we didn't have positions for them. I think the only one I had was this guy who was a youngster. And they call him a wonder kid as well. I guess he is pretty good for a 19-year-old. But I signed him quite cheaply, I think, didn't I? 2.8 million, yeah. So he was the only one I had, so I was like, I need to sign some wingers. And wingers are super expensive, and I didn't have a lot of money. So I think I signed Ocampos for 10 million. He's already scored 3 goals in 2 games. And I signed a couple more. I signed like... Harvey Elliott on loan, although I don't think he's going to get used. Reece Nelson I signed from Arsenal for 7.5. I was looking at this, like his first season at Arsenal, he did brilliantly. Like, that is phenomenal. And then they just never played him again. I was like, what? It's crazy. I think he's going to be really good. I signed... who else I signed? Oh, this guy. I think I signed him from China, yeah. I think I overpaid for him, to be honest with you. I don't think he's that good, and I think that might be a bit of a flop, but we'll see. What I liked about him was his high work rate and his aggression, but we'll see. So I signed him. I signed Morelos at the beginning of the season. I was thinking of him backing up Werner in the 5-3-2, but it never worked out. He hasn't played well. Whether he's okay, so 7.03, and I'm like, he hasn't played well, but he's only scored 1 goal in 10 games, which is not ideal. Really. But he does work hard, so he's kind of my backup to Werner, who's now playing in a more natural pressing forward and is smashing it in. Gio obviously ignore this because I think I had a cup game last time and I was playing a different side. We signed Jude Bellingham, who's very, very good. If you can sign him, sign him. 16 million. And I was like, that seems a lot. It wasn't. It was a steal. He's been brilliant this season, and he's 19. He's gonna go on and be great for a long time. Who else did I sign as well? I signed. That was it, I think. I thought I signed another winger. Maybe not. And this is the left back I signed to replace Diza. Although Diza's still here. Juan Miranda, I got him for 4.2 million from Barcelona B. You can see 7.5 so far this season. He's been smashing them in, like assisting, scoring. He's been fantastic. Demari Gray I got as well for 4.1 million. So I was kind of bargain basement buying some backups and things like that. And we'll see who works out and who doesn't at the end of the season. But it kind of sounds weird because it's like, why on earth would you completely change your tactics midway through the season when you were, I think I was second, but I was second by like a point, and we were playing well. If I show you my games, December, we drew 0-0 with Man City, but otherwise we won a lot of our games. But sorry, these are friendlies, so there was a break because of the World Cup in Qatar. But a lot of the ones were like 1-0, 2-0s. All right, we beat we beat them 5. We beat Juventus 5-1. Yes, but there was a few like draws I wasn't too happy with. You can see here like 1-1, 1-1. At least we drew Bournemouth there and didn't lose. But I just wasn't. I was like, especially in like Football Manager, if things are too stale for too long, you lose. Players, other teams work you out, and you can't just keep the same tactic the whole time. And I wanted to switch up, so we changed in January 1st. Since then, we've been scoring a lot. Kind of ignore these a little bit because if we have a look at the match report here, you can see I had 33 shots, 14, 3 and 2, and we beat them 2-1. So it was very one-sided, but yeah, we've been doing really well since we've switched, and we've been scoring a lot of goals, which is nice. We beat Liverpool, who were our main title rivals, 3-0 in sorry, a very easy game, to be completely honest with you. We beat them very comfortably. So hopefully I'll go on and win the league this season again. Oh, another player I signed, Brazilian like wonder kid as well, 12 million. So I was like, yeah, bargain. Played well so far for me. Played a couple of cup games. This only shows league games, I think, which is a little disappointing. It doesn't show you overall one with cups and things. So yeah, I like to keep busy in the transfer market. I've got Henderson as my backup keeper. He's happy to sit on the bench, and then a good young keeper here who potentially could go on and be better than Farinas, but I'm going to have to loan him out a fair bit, I think, to get him there. But I don't know if he'll ever upset, because I love this guy. He's brilliant. I'm trying to keep sending him on leadership courses, so eventually he could be the captain. But we'll see. We've got some decent young players as well coming through, which is important because, as I say, we don't have crazy money, although that may change. So we have quite a lot in the bank at the minute, 58 million. This is not too bad. We got taken over just before January by a Chinese, and they put in a fair amount of money, and they seem to be splashing the cash a little bit. We have stuff going on at Selhurst Park. So last season we increased Selhurst Park's attendance to 35,000. It was 26, so about 9,500 seats they added in, which was really good because we were just selling it out all the time and not making any money on gate receipts, which is disappointing. Now they're planning to expand it to 40,000. Eventually we'll have to build a new stadium, but that's just the way it goes, really. And our training facilities are being improved as well, and our youth facilities. We have already improved them several times over. So at the minute, we've got great training facilities, state-of-the-art data analysis, excellent youth facilities, excellent academy coaching, exceptional youth recruitment. So I'm really excited to see what comes through at the end of the season, or towards the end of the season with the youth players, because I've had crap in the last few seasons, to be honest with you. It'd be really nice to bring through one of my own. We've got a couple of affiliates now in Australia and America to help with the commercial side of stuff. So we're kind of pushing onwards. In terms of how I've done in the Champions League the last couple of seasons, I've always qualified out my group, which is surprising because I've had some really tough groups. I've got Atletico in the first knockout. I've gone out in the first knockout the last 2 seasons. I went out to who did I go out to? I went out to Paris Saint-Germain last season, who were phenomenal. They had like Neymar, Mbappe, and somebody else really good. I can't remember. I think it was Fekir or someone. It was just ridiculously good. And the season before I went out, I think it might have been Atletico. I think I got past the first knockout, actually. I think I might have got knocked out by Atletico. But we're playing well in Europe as well. Hopefully we can go on and do that. We're in the final of the Carabao Cup. I'd never really made it that far in the Carabao or the FA Cup before. We always seem to come across Man United and get knocked out, to be completely honest with you. But I had a super easy draw this year. Who'd I have? So I had West Brom. We took penalties to get past them. That was when, at the beginning of the season as well, to be fair to these Fulham and Bournemouth results, I had terrible injuries. And you can see in this one, I was playing Miranda in centre-back. He's a left wing-back. I was playing this guy who's a youth player who's not a very good youth player because I had no centre-backs. So, we were struggling in that, to be fair, and we scraped through on penalties. Farinas saved like 3 penalties. When Luca missed the first one, who is my go-to penalty taker, although he has missed a few recently, and I might change that up, I was like, oh, we're done. But we scraped through. And then we had Chesterfields, who obviously we annihilated. Then we had Aston Villa, who we beat comfortably, and Stoke as well. So we had a good run this year. We haven't come across anyone too tough, but we got Arsenal in the final, so that'll be quite interesting. And we beat who did we beat? Liverpool. That's it, 2-0. Yeah, I seem to have the marking of Liverpool weirdly. No one else seems to be able to beat them. Interestingly, they are managed by Pep Guardiola currently. Pep Guardiola is manager of Liverpool, so work that one out. 240 grand a week though. His assistant manager's on 2,800 and he's on 200. Jesus, I hope he gives him some money from that. Christ, that's a ridiculous amount of money to pay for a manager, isn't it? I know it's Pep Guardiola, but so you're probably wondering, well, sorry. Just woken up, so I'm super tired. Who's managing? Unai Emery is managing Man City, of course. That's why they're 9th now. Chelsea are being managed by Zinedine Zidane. That's right, they got rid of Frank after some disastrous seasons for them, I guess. They're kind of coming through. They've just signed... here we go. They've signed some big players. Vinicius Junior, 146 million. They've spent 330 million. Leon Bailey, 101 million. They've only raked in 123 million. So I don't know how financial fair play is going to work out for them, but that doesn't seem right, does it? 200 million net spend. But yeah, they're kind of, and that's why I'm saying, like, those top elite players are 100 million plus easily, and I can't afford that. We've never even had our transfer budget close to that. I think the highest I've had is like 60. So tough. Man United are still Ole Gunnar, who's actually done quite well for them. They did win the league, and then they came second last season. So they would have won it if it wasn't for me coming in messing them up. Bayano's their key player, apparently. 18-year-old in central midfield. Yeah. Still got Phil Jones. He'll forever be there. Mason Greenwood, his stats though were phenomenal. Like 30 goals he scored in 33 games that season. No one could stop Man United in that season. They were just absolutely phenomenal. But they've lost their way a little bit since then. But I say lost their way, but they're 4th this season. It's not bad. Everton are managed by Adi Hutter, who's Austrian. Arsenal are managed by Roberto Mancini. Leicester are managed by Slaven Bilic. Tottenham are managed by Marcelo Bielsa. By the way, Harry Kane went to Man City. Man City, like, Emery's going to get sacked because they still have, like, De Bruyne, Sterling. They brought Sancho. They brought Kane. But like that team should win the league comfortably still, and yet they're not. So yeah, Unai Emery strikes again. Brighton are managed by Frank Lampard. They're my rivals. Aston Villa by Stalis Solbakken. Wolves, Andre Villas-Boas. They kept the Portuguese vibe. It's nice to see. Leeds are managed by Chris Hughton. Huddersfield, Graham Jones. Bournemouth, Carrot Fouch. Fulham, Scott Parker still. So that's quite nice. He's got them promoted in his first season, then 16th and 12th. He's pushing with them. It's nice to see. There's Kike Setien, who is the current Barcelona manager, is the West Ham manager currently, not doing so well. Cardiff, is Miguel Angel Nadal, the famous centre-back. Norwich is Paul Cook. And Newcastle is Diego Reyes, the Chilean manager, who looked like Newcastle might get relegated this season, not doing so well. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. The question is actually, where is Klopp? I'm assuming he's at a top club. Is he at Barca? No, it's Marcelo Gallardo. Is he at Real? Yeah, he's at Real. Okay, so Jurgen Klopp went to Real Madrid. They haven't managed to win anything yet. It must be a bit disappointing. I was looking at their team though earlier, and I was like, their team doesn't look that good. They just brought up Mancano, but before that, I was like, yeah, he's kind of not looking too good. Odegaard, Odegaard, I don't. He's on the transfer market of 2.6 million. I was like, that's a bargain. So I went in for him. Then he wanted 230,000 a week. Yeah, he's a 200k fringe player. And I'm like, no, I can't. Because it's a Danny Olmo thing where he's an attacking midfielder. I don't have that in my squad, but he is very good. And, potentially he can be very, very good. With 2.6 million, the person inside of him was like, get him in, just loan him out, then sell him for like 25 million at the end of the season. But I don't think I'm going to do that, to be honest with you. It just doesn't quite fit. So yeah, things are going pretty well so far for the club. I'm pretty happy. I've got a B performance. The one thing which does bug me, actually, I will say, is I'm only favoured personnel. I just won the flipping league, guys. I've got you into the Champions League last 2 seasons, and Christopher Gere, I signed him. He's icon, and I'm favoured personnel. It's outrageous. I am a golden god to Crystal Palace right now. So yeah, not happy with that, to be completely honest with you. But there you go. I don't know if it must be a bug, surely. So we've won the Premier League now, having never won anything close to that before. We won the Community Shield. We'll see where we go. It would be great to win an FA Cup or Carabao Cup as well. Do a double would be brilliant this season. That's my target. The Champions League, I don't know, man. I mean, some of these teams are very good. Like Barcelona are actually going to lose Messi. Messi's going to retire at the end of the season, which is interesting. They still obviously have some very good players. Fati's coming through. Obviously, he's the young kid at the minute who people are really shouting about. So they still have a very good side. I drew 1-1 with them in the pre-season friendly. I don't know what that tells you. Paris Saint-Germain are very good. Obviously, they win everything. Mbappe is just phenomenal. If I had 200 million, I'd buy him. In a heartbeat, I would buy him. And I wouldn't even care, but I don't. They've got Neymar, Pogba. They've got as well. Sorry, how much did they sign him for? 95 million. Yeah. So they've got Pogba, Bernardeschi. They've signed as well. Icardi. That was it. Icardi. It was up front. They've got Nikia as well. They brought off the bench. They've got Kante. They signed Kante for 55 million. William Carvalho. Yeah, they got a good side, Paris Saint-Germain. I did beat them 1-0. They were in my group, and it was like they battered me the whole way through, managed to hang on, and I scored like in the 92nd minute. I did a Football Manager on them, which was great. Bayern, I don't know how Bayern's team is actually at the minute. I think they bought João Felix from Atletico, who never did very well at Atletico, yeah. Oh, no, sorry, he did well at Atletico, did brilliantly. Man City brought him, never did anything. So then they brought him on at I think I would love him as well. He's fantastic. Again, these players, as weird as it sounds, we're at the top of the league, we're in the Champions League, everything like that. These players are just out of my stratosphere right now. I don't know if there are reports we get about so our income is just not enough because of the size of the stadium and stuff like that, and at the minute our sponsors are not high enough for what they should be compared to other teams. It does show you at the end of the season, like comparison, like income and stuff like that, and you can see the teams with the big stadium and stuff like that just have, they're doing 4 or 5 times the income that Crystal Palace are doing. So until we get a massive stadium and we're filling it every week, then it's not working. So that's the way it goes, I guess. But yeah, they still don't have that higher hopes for me, actually. I think my thing this season was to qualify. It was to qualify for the Europa League, and I was like, mate, I'm going to win the league again. But yeah, so I guess that's a way to kind of have a look. Now, the one thing you're probably wondering is, hey, Phil, how did you sign players like a Campos, who has no caps, from an Argentinian side, with work permits? Well, let me talk to you about a thing called Brexit. It's funny, I'm actually recording this on the 1st of February, so technically the UK has left the European Union. They did it last night at 11 o'clock, although things won't change for a year because we're in a kind of phased leave kind of thing. Brexit happened in this, and what happened was it changed so that no one needed a work permit anymore, and however, there was a limit on the number of foreign players you could have. Let me see if there's rules. Does it tell me about this? Oh, here we go. Right, here we go. So you can only have maximum of 17 foreign players. Foreign players counted as anyone from anywhere. However, if you had players in your squad already who were from a foreign country, they did not. They counted as home players, if you like. But you can sign anyone. So actually, it's pretty good. If we go to my squad registration, you can see I've only got 10. I did go. So I think it says 10, but there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got 2 here who weren't. I think they were. I don't know who they were actually. No, sorry, it isn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so sorry, they weren't. But you can see some players here who were signed before who are foreign. Stefan Bajic. Let's see if there's anyone else. Alfredo Morelos, because he was in Rangers, it doesn't count as foreign. Christopher Gere, Milivojevic, Jesus Valero, Indica. So I would be close to that 17 limit. But at the minute it's fine, and I have been trying to buy more domestic players. But what's great is it does mean that you can sign those players from Brazil you couldn't get before, Argentina, those young kids, like I signed the wonder kid. Where is he? He must be up here somewhere. Here we go. Vladimir Maso Diaz, 19-year-old. I would never have signed him before. Well, possibly I could have, but it would have cost me more than 12 million, because they're like, if you spend a certain amount of money, then it will boost it above the work permit need or whatever. So it would have been like 20 million I'd had to sign him for. I could sign him and no problem. The only thing I struggle on is the homegrown status, because I haven't brought through any youngsters, unfortunately. So you can kind of see I don't have anybody kind of trained at the club. I've got trained in Nation and stuff like that, but yeah, it's a little annoying to be honest. Our youth setup, if we kind of go to it, it is not great. If we have a look at players who have potential, basically the ones I've signed. So Elliot, I think I'm going to try and sign him at the end of the season. I think Liverpool will let him go cheap, even though he's got a lot of potential. De Silva was a guy I signed from Inter, I think. I'm thinking this kid's going to be the new Philippe Coutinho. You remember when Inter sold like Philippe Coutinho to Liverpool for like 5 million or whatever it was, ridiculously cheap price. I think this guy's going to be the new him. So he's on loan at the minute at Luzerne. He's playing well-ish. I think he's going to be pretty good, so I'm going to bring him through. Bajic, obviously, my young goalkeeper. This guy, Dion Bello, how much did I sign him for? 1.6. He's on loan at the minute in France and ripping it up, but he hasn't quite done it for me, to be honest with you. He actually did quite well in the cup, I think, with us. Won't say here, but he did score a couple, I think, in the cup, but it was against Chesterfield, so take that how you will. This guy, I don't really rate him, to be honest with you. They seem to, but I don't. I'll let him go probably. This guy's pretty good, but he's 21 now, and I don't think he's going to kick on, so we'll probably sell him at the end of the season. They're saying this kid's going to go on and be pretty good, but I don't think he is. I think he was cheap, though. 1.3 million, yeah. And then, yeah, it's just a collection of kind of, all right players. I signed Alenya on a 3.1. It was fairly cheap, but I haven't really been using him, to be honest with you. My midfield's very strong at the minute, and he just hasn't really fitted in. So he's 25 now as well, but they're saying potentially he could go on and be very good. Same with Maitland-Niles as well. I signed him. How much did I sign him for? 5.75. Yeah, he could go on and be very good. But again, my midfield is very strong at the minute. You can kind of seeing like my squad depth. I've got a lot of really good players in central midfield on there. So yeah, I don't know what other things you want to kind of have a look at or that I want to show off, I guess, or do anything with, I guess, is kind of there. So yeah, that's how it's going at the minute. I've been really enjoying this actually, and kind of been. Often I'll get a bit bored at a club if I'm winning stuff, but I think there's been enough of a challenge. I mean, I've only won the league last season. I didn't win anything in the other seasons. It was just about building. And I mean, I think they'll get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm winning a bit too much here, or whatever. It always does in Football Manager eventually, in a way. And I'll probably, move. I might move clubs. I might start a new save. I don't know, but I think I've got a good few seasons left in here. I want to see how some of the players develop. I want to see if I can. The aim for me is to kind of develop the stadium. I think at Crystal Palace and get that in, and we'll see how the 40,000 does. But I think probably we'll need to build a new stadium, and then I'll have to save money for that as well. And we'll kind of see how that goes. So. Could be interesting times. Hopefully we'll continue to kind of win. As I said, I'm happy with this new tactic. It's working. If it doesn't, we can go back to the old one. I did buy a lot of wingers though, so that would be embarrassing. But and I think at the end of the season as well, I'll look to bring in probably a very good quality like right winger. I think if I remember rightly, in the transfer market right now, there really wasn't a lot going on. If we look at who's listed. You have some players, but I mean they're super pricey. At kind of the top there, and then the rest of them are not really worth it. Players who are interested in joining me, if we have a look, I do actually have quite a lot, to be fair. Good players. You have potentially, like I guess, a Hudson-Odoi. You got Fatty potentially interested, but I mean I don't know the amount of money I think I would need to get Ansu Fati to join me would be pretty phenomenal, I think, considering they are playing him and stuff like that. So we'll see. He's Barcelona wonder kid. I don't think I'm going to be prizing him away for anything less than 100 million, and I don't think I'm going to get 100 million. I'm gutted about this guy, Anthony. So I was looking at him and I had the chance to sign him, and I was like, ooh, I don't know. I was like, I'm going to know, and then it was like they wanted like 25 million, I think, and it was that the bulk of my transfer budget at the time. I was like, I don't think I'm going to sign him actually. And then Atletico Madrid signed him for 27. I was like, shit. And he's really good. Sorry, I've lost him. There he is. He's really good. You can see his stats. He's been playing brilliantly for them. And he would have been excellent for me. Maybe I'll try and sign him, but I mean I ain't gonna get him cheap. And sometimes I'm not Man United. I don't want to go back in for a player who I lost out on and then sign him for like twice the amount or whatever. But he is very good, and he would be fantastic for us on that right wing. I think our like our wingers are weak. You can see like when they're saying Werner and Bellingham are our best right wingers when we actually have three dedicated ones. Although I mean, they're all pretty much the same, but that those positions are not quite good enough. It was me wanting to change it, and it was kind of like I don't want to say panic buy, but it was more just a kind of like, I need to change these tactics up. I need to see something different for the rest of this season, and so that's kind of why this came about. But yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying Football Manager 2020. I think it's been brilliant this year. I think they constantly improve it. They constantly make great changes to it. It's one of the most consistently good game series out there, I think. But some sports games consistently do it well. I think the baseball game, I've never played it, but I always hear that is just consistently very good. MLB The Show, I think it is. And I think Football Manager's up there as well. And it's Football Manager, yeah, there's the argument of like, hey, it doesn't really change, but it does. They do add, they build upon what they did last year. They adjust things which people didn't like, and then they put in new features as well. And generally the new features are pretty good with them as well. It's something which FIFA, I think, needs to kind of learn about, is listen to people's feedback, make changes, and actually add useful features, but don't forget about those old ones that you had which people still play. So I think this is a sports franchise game, if you like, if you want to call it that, where they actually do a good job on it. But yeah, we'll finish up there, I think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.